I'm from Black America, it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Jada Costa.
And it's your girl, Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. And look, I got the beautiful Katniss next to me in the building. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Hair freshly braided with the great popping. I see you, boo. Looking good, girl. Looking good. Looking good. As they would, you know, some of them old heads, good. They look good. But, yeah, man, we back. We back. With another episode of the Nitty Gritty Show. If you saw the tagline, we're talking money and dating in Black America. I guess this conversation never gets old. I mean, shoot, there's a whole bunch of podcasts built off the darn conversation. And then, of course, Ebony K. Williams went viral over the last 2 weeks because of multiple conversations she had around, you know, what's mediocre, the garbage guy, not the garbage guy, but the bus driver she wouldn't date. And it's not about the bus driver. It's not about necessarily the profession. But it is interesting how all of this conversation implicates into where we are as Black America when we're trying to push the envelope forward when it comes to home ownership, our children, the legacies we leave behind. Marriage is an important factor in that. So there's some stats we're going to break down in accordance to that because it's important, right? And then also, before we get there, though, we always have our current news. So we'll run through that. Katrina, I'll let you take the first one. Chris Brown. Your boy Chris been wilding in the news. So like, just to update the people.
Yes. Allegedly, Usher threw Chris Brown a surprise birthday party at a roller skating rink in Vegas. And rumor has it that he was upset at Tiana Taylor because he asked her to perform with him at the AMAs some time ago and she was busy. Now, this is the same AMAs that canceled Chris Brown's Michael Jackson tribute performance. So that may have been why he was upset. Again, rumor has it that he was intoxicated, and so he was cussing at her, calling her derogatory names. Usher tries to step in and say, relax, Chris. Usher then leaves the skating rink and goes to his party bus, and then thereafter, rumors have it that Usher was jumped by Chris Brown and his crew. So I don't know if this is true or not, but I do know that Chris Brown did perform at the Lovers and Friends Festival. I think it was today or yesterday. Usher was throwing it, so it seems to me that if there was some beef, they're not really on it. They must have squashed it. But
he got into a verbal altercation at the Friends and Lovers event. From what I saw,
the video.
Hollywood
It looked like he was saying, "I'm calm." I don't know. I'm not sure what's really going on with Chris Brown. If these things are true, I pray that brother really gets help, because we've been hearing about it for years, and I'm hoping that there's some level of maturity that he is aiming towards, as far as like learning how to de-escalate situations that make him extremely emotional. If these things aren't true, I hope that the media can just give him some space so that he can process and continue to move about and be professional in his career.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I can't feel sorry for him. I mean, we try to lift the brother up. We try to get behind him despite a past, but he doesn't want to grow up. He doesn't want to grow past it, right? I get it. Like, I think everybody deserves a second chance, third or fourth, if they really want to work towards it, right? Because, everybody falls short some kind of way, or, has their set of issues. But if someone is honestly trying to do the work to be better, though, I think you get chance and chance again. But at some point, when you're proving to us that you're not really trying as hard as you should, you're not being a professional. Somehow, Marion, Usher, Tank, all these guys managed to be professionals. And Chris is just getting in trouble. And he's a talented guy, great music, but come on, Chris. Help us help you, support you, if that's what you want. So yeah, Chris Brown's acting a fool. And then also, update us on the latest with this Cleopatra situation. Netflix.
Yeah, I've been talking to one about this like all week. So for those who don't know, there is this Queens of Egypt docuseries that Jada Pinkett Smith is the executive producer on Netflix. The first series covered Njenga, who was the Queen of Angola, who fought off the Portuguese. Now the second installment of this docuseries is of Cleopatra. There's so much controversy surrounding Cleopatra because, as we know through history, Cleopatra comes from the Ptolemy, am I saying it right? Ptolemy dynasty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the Ptolemy dynasty was,
or Ptolemy, however you
Macedonian Greek, and so people are saying like she was white, although she was an Egyptian queen. However, we do not know the ethnicity of her mother, and Cleopatra, out of 7 generations of the dynasty, which spans over 400 years, was the first one to speak the Egyptian language. So rumor has it that her mother may have been Egyptian, hence why she defended Egypt so vigorously. Anyway, the controversy is that because they casted a biracial woman, meaning she's half black, half white, fair skin, curly hair, but obviously looks very much black, the Egyptian folks are upset and they are suing Netflix because they feel it is not an accurate depiction of what Egyptians look like today, nor is it an accurate depiction of what Cleopatra would have looked like. So, they are frustrated because they feel like Egyptian people are not black. They don't consider themselves black. They consider themselves wheat-colored and more alignment to Middle Eastern culture, looks, customs, traditions, and they feel that that should have been a more accurate representation of Cleopatra and or someone who was white with red hair. I don't know. That is the controversy. Any thoughts from you?
I'm just wondering, where was all this vitriol when the movie Gods of Egypt was made? That movie was casted by like Gerard Butler. What was the white guy? He's a decent actor, but he's playing in a couple of movies as well. These people don't have the features of Egyptians. Sir Ben Kingsley has been a pharaoh in I don't know how many movies.
Yep.
And once again, no one ever said, hey, we're going to sue XYZ cinema or movie, whatever, for releasing something that has all these Europeans. That's why he's Sir Ben Kingsley, because he's English. We're going to sue such and such because we have all these white people with Nordic features. I mean, Gerard Butler didn't even attempt to have another other than accent, right? He sound Irish all the way through, and he's playing set. right? An Egyptian god. Where was all this protest and everything when Moses and countless others have been portrayed by white actors? No one said anything, but God forbid we take a curly-haired black woman and cast her as Cleopatra, and everybody loses their darn marbles. I just find that interesting. I'm going to talk some more about that probably later in the week. I might do like a video or something.
Yeah, because they're saying that black people, specifically African Americans, are ignorant because we have some type of obsession with Egypt, being that it's in Africa. We need to be better with our geography and understanding that just because a country is in Africa doesn't give us the right to call them African, right? And they feel like the Kush dynasty, the 25th dynasty of the Egyptian Empire, is more black. But that's not accurate. If you look throughout history, Egypt has been conquered and controlled by so many different people groups. So at best, more than likely, when you're talking about ancient Egyptians, you're going to get mixed race people. Because there was a lot of mixing. And in order to stay in power, typically what they would do is they would mix or marry you off to somebody, through transition of power so that there can be favor with the people that were currently occupying the space. So it's really unfortunate. The Cleopatra comes out this Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday, right?
I think we should watch it.
Yep,
support it. I feel awful for the actress. This is her biggest debut, and she's getting death threats and everything because she's black, and people are telling her that she is wrong for portraying Cleopatra, and she said it's been a very traumatizing experience. This is her biggest debut as an actress.
I just wonder if like the white actors got the same smoke for playing prominent Egyptian figures over time, right? Or when they play any role that obviously they don't depict. I'm just curious if they get the same smoke. That's all. And once again, if somebody wants to play a role, let them play a role, but it's just weird when it's black. All of a sudden, everybody's upset. And this has happened so many times through the history of film. Black person plays a role. Everybody gets their panties in a bunch. But let a white person play a role that is clearly not for them historically. And everyone is so cool. So
yeah, because Liz
what's
Taylor
up,
played.
Nikki? I see you.
Liz Taylor played Cleopatra.
Yeah, and there was no problem, right?
I don't see how. But if you look at the actress, you've seen the poster. She looks like
like Ethiopian.
East African.
She looks East African, and people forget Egypt before it became the current sovereign state that it is, would span it all the way down from upper to the lower kingdom. And folks forget that the Nile flows from the south to the north, which is different from most rivers, right? Mm-hmm. The power of the Nile has always been in the south. So the power, when you look at Egypt and conflicts throughout there, throughout that kingdom, most of the time the power came from folks who are now in Sudan, dark black people. Most of the pyramids are in Sudan, current day Sudan. A lot of that people group now exist in Eritrea, in Ethiopia, right? Let's not forget Libya. And you had Libyan presidents like Gaddafi always considering himself African and black, right? And then you get Egyptians that say, well, I'm Middle Eastern, and that's fine because Middle Eastern people did move into Egypt. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the time frame that Cleopatra ruled, you can't ignore the mixing of races that would have existed at that time. Context as to time frames matters at this point, and you can't ignore it. So it's interesting to me that there's so much, like I said, so much vitriol and all of this angst about this casting, and I just don't see how it's not casted correctly. So it's interesting, but I wanted to bring that up. Last two, and then we'll get down to the nitty gritty of all, because y'all saw the tagline. We're talking money and dating in Black America, so we're gonna get down to it. But before we do, I wanted to call out the multiple mass shootings that we had here over the last week. We had a mass shooting in Atlanta. I believe 3 died there due to pistol fire. Then we had 8 die, I think was the last count that I'm aware of, in Allen, Texas, where they had an open shooter. I think the shooter had killed himself or something like that.
They killed the shooter.
They killed the shooter in Allen, Texas? Yeah, so, we had multiple races involved here with these shootings as far as the culprits. And what it comes down to is there's legislation right now that could be passed. And keep in mind, this was Texas and Georgia. These are red states that have very low gun laws, right? These are open carry states. These are some of the states that had the most pushback towards, background checks and mental health status checks behind gun ownership. And then the result, we tend to see this a lot in states that are typically red with lower standards for gun control, tend to have these things happen more often than not than the others. But then violence is still spiking in the U.S. And that goes on to the second point. We seen a story here in the D.C. area where middle school students attempted to literally execute another middle school student. The kids had the little, what they call the poo shiesty, where they had the little mask on, the little ninja mask. Ran up on the bus, middle school students ran up on the bus. There was a particular middle school student they was after. They went to the young man with a semi-automatic pistol, pulled twice on the trigger to his chest. Thank God the gun did not go off. But in the process, once the gun didn't go off, they proceeded to pistol whip this young man. And they ran up off the bus. Obviously, when somebody goes to execute someone, and it's funny, I was talking to some of the fellas at the barbershop early this morning about this. The assumption would be that that young man, everybody was in that life. But then I had a good friend of mine, shout out to my man Derek. I know you be watching the show. He made a good point, which is, maybe it wasn't an execution because somebody's in the life. These days, these kids are so fragile-minded. It doesn't take a whole lot for them to pull the trigger. We're seeing in the D.C. area, carjackings are up, but not just in D.C. I mean, most metropolitan cities. It is not because people are jacking because they're destitute or in need. We're seeing a lot of teenagers just because of TikTok and trying to be cool. They're carjacking people for the heck of it. A lot of the cars are being found typically within 3 days, a few blocks down the road, because somebody just wanted to joyride. They just thought it'd be fun. Carjack somebody, put a pistol to somebody's window, take their car, run around, put it all on Instagram or TikTok and laugh about it. This is what some children are finding as fun and entertaining. And we're in a place right now where there are some very important things we should be focused on in America. And, next year's an election year and everybody's going to tell you to vote for your life and all that good stuff. These are the things you need to consider when you're talking to your local politicians, because America's a mess. And I get it. We love to talk about celebrity and everything. But you need to think about the day-to-day stuff that really affects you. And guess what? Chris Brown and them ain't it. The Cleopatra conversation is very interesting. But, I mean, these larger conversations, it's just something to talk about. I mean, obviously everybody wants to hear about Chris Brown, but it kind of pulls into the conversation because, we celebrate these celebrities and they have poor social behaviors. And I think the kids start to mimic it. So when you start to talk about holding celebrities accountable to how people are moving, I think this is where you see the integration of that, or that cross-sectionality of conversation. So something to talk about. But we know what you guys are here for. We know why you came. We need to talk about this conversation that went viral. Shout out to Ebony K. Williams. Katrina, if you could kind of just update people on, give them the short, dirty, bird's eye view. For those that don't know, if you don't know who Ebony K. Williams and all that kind of stuff, give them just a rundown of what happened and why this kind of went viral.
Okay, well,
give them the bullet points.
Ebony is my soror. She's a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She was seen on Housewives of New York. She does hold a law degree. She's known as, I guess you would say, an
activist?
Sort of, but I was going to say more of like a, not an influencer, but what do you call people who are on reality TV? Like one of those.
Yeah, I guess like an influencer level celebrity.
Yeah, influencer level celebrity. So, anyway, she was on the Gyro with Iyanla Van Zant, and she was asking her to provide advice and wisdom about Black women in their dating prospects, especially Black women who have advanced degrees and who are looking to partner with someone that makes equal, money or at their same stature. Mm-hmm. And Iyanla said, well, would you date a bus driver? And she was like, if he owned the bus. And so that clip went viral, and so there was a lot of feedback from it. And so thereafter, Ebony decided, okay, well, let me go ahead and provide further explanation as to why I said this. And so she did like another follow-up video on her social media that also went viral. And then thereafter, the Breakfast Club brought her on to give more explanation about what she felt was a desire for her as far as her dating prospects. So that is why we are talking about money and dating in Black America, because it definitely did, I think, shake trees, right?
Yeah.
And caused a big uproar from both Black and women and men alike all over social media about their opinions and frustrations of dating the opposite sex. So
yeah, so I'll be curious to know at this point, feel free to throw your comments in there, but I'm, how important is that to you? Whether it's important to you, or then consider for those who are a little elderly watching, right, are more seasoned individuals. How does that play out for you when you think about your children? Is it important that somebody is as educated as your sons or daughters? Is it important that someone is making equal money to your children, right? Because if you've been married for a while, maybe you're out of the conversation, but you still have a thought process as to how you would guide your children, right? So I'd be curious to hear about how you guys feel about subjects like that. And give your thoughts on, does that really matter? Does someone's line of work or their family background, does that matter to you when someone's getting married? I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Feel free to share in the comments. But it was interesting because there was a lot of people that got mad about, she had made comments around mediocrity and average, that she felt that if you were a bus driver and that was your highest level of ability or what she wished to do, that wouldn't be enough for her. Now if that's your max skill set, she had even made the comment like, your job is going to be taken by AI. But then she was saying, if you feel like there's more in you, more juice in you, you should be wanting to do more.
You should be striving to do more, yeah.
So there was this, and then that just spoke a lot of conversation. The reason why we kind of picked this up in the Nitty Gritty show, because we're not so much concerned about Ebony K. Williams' thoughts, but it's more so the conversations that started happening in all these threads as people watching. There were a lot of Black men like, oh, that's the problem with Black women. They don't want to follow nobody. They just worried about the money. There's a lot of Black women that says, well, why shouldn't I have my pick? I've worked hard to get to this level. What does that mean for me? So I wanted to step back a little bit and say, okay, well, let's really look at where this is for Black America, because is this a really effective conversation, or are we being tricked into believing that numbers are what they are? She quoted some numbers. I pulled the actual numbers from the census, so I'm going to bring them up here. Don't at me. Just
Nikki
if you don't like it, go to the census.
Nikki says, I wish it didn't matter, but it does. Men do ask what women bring to the table. These days men do ask that. And don't get mad when a woman makes more than you. Okay, I'll start. So I think that ideally, as someone who grew up in a two-parent household, seeing both my mom and dad work, bring home a salary, being someone that holds multiple degrees, I would be lying if I said I did not desire for someone who was intelligent, someone who was ambitious, someone that had a degree, because for me, it was like, this is the path forward that I want for my home. I don't want to be in a situation of struggle or wondering, if my significant other is going to be able to help me raise children, educate children. My biggest thing is the desire to grow, the desire for knowledge, the desire to want to expand your vocabulary or your understanding of history or of knowledge. That desire to me is really important, more so than you bringing home more money. Bringing home more money is nice, but the desire to grow. If you're complacent, and maybe this is what Ebony meant, maybe I think she landed the plan a little rough, like her tack was a little off. If you're complacent, I think that might be where Black women are struggling, because you'll see these Black women these days, they're go-getters. They're like, all right, I'm about to try to get multiple businesses. How do I do it? I'm going to go ahead and get into tech. I'm getting multiple certifications. You see Black women, graduating, and they're moving and shaking all over the stratosphere, trying to figure out how to do it, because for so long they didn't have a man in the house to show them how to do it. So they feel like they have to take it on. I think even Ebony talked about that. Remember, she said she felt like she had to go and get a JD because she felt like for a long time she didn't see Black men that were able to provision and provide. So she felt like, why would I place my livelihood in the hands of someone else who hasn't shown me they have the ability or the desire to move about in order to care for, me or a household. So I'll start the conversation there. I think that's likely where Black women who are educated are coming from, is being fearful that they're not seeing the same ambition that they are showcasing amongst their sister girlfriends in Black men.
So, and I would say to this, because I didn't hear, I think Charlamagne tried to address it on the Breakfast Club, but I want to bring it up here. So the fact is, right, there was no lie told there. Black women are earning degrees at about at a rate about 1 to 4, or I say I guess 4 to 1, you would say, compared to like Black men, right? Black women are definitely earning more degrees. If you look at associate degrees, like 71% of degrees, and these are stats from, I'm not just making this stuff up, the National Center for Education Statistics. This is from the 2018-2019 academic year. 71% of associate's degrees awarded in the Black community went to women, 28% to men. If we're looking at bachelor's degrees, 65% awarded to women, 34% to men. And if we're looking at master's degrees, 70% to women and 29% to men. Now, with that, I think things we should consider is when it comes to education, right? There's some key factors in education I want people to think about when they're engaging in this conversation. One, we know that young men, Black men, boys, are attacked early in the elementary school years or the formative years, right? They're normally labeled as rowdy. They normally get isolated very fast in the school system. A lot of them are only graduating because of social promotion, because of, stuff pushed through the Bush administration. So they're being socially promoted, but a lot of times their intellect is being disregarded. And we know that for young Black men in America, the thing that America gleans on is our physicality, to our detriment or to our glory, right? If you throw a ball, kick a ball, bounce a ball, whatever, to your glory, but then that big stature is the same reason why they'll kill an unarmed Black man in a heartbeat, right? So we need to understand first how Black men are being attacked. And I'm not trying to make it excuses, but things to consider. And also men in general. So when I pulled this stat, I pulled it for Black women and Black men, but also in general. So even with white men, even with Asian men, actually not Asian men. Asian men are actually out degreeing their female counterparts. Mm-hmm. But every other social group, Hispanic and white, women are outpacing men in earning degrees, period. And the numbers are somewhat similar between Hispanic, white, and Black. So we always try to act like it's a Black problem, but this is something that's extenuating out of to all. And when you talk about, and so when we talk about that, things you got to consider is if a man, let's just do simple math here. If a man doesn't go to school, gets a degree, right? He picks up a trade instead, gets on blue collar work. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't have the school debt now automatically. And what we're seeing a lot of times is some of these blue collar workers, plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians, they're actually buying homes single with that blue collar work, right? And they're, in some cases, speaking for those men, speaking on their behalf, I've seen situations where educated women, especially our sisters, will overlook those men. Actually, not just sisters, women of all races. They will overlook those kind of men, right?
That's true.
Because they don't have a certain level of sophistication and they don't have a certain type of job title, right, with what they do. But those same women are, I've seen situations with Anthony O'Neill where women get up and say they're $100,000 in debt, $200,000 in debt. I've heard stories of women who are $400,000 in school debt. So you have all of this school debt. Then there's the peer pressure of having to have the bag. Ladies, y'all know the bag. Y'all got to have the bag. Then there's the, let me drive the luxury car or at least the nicest Honda, Nissan, whatever I can find, right? The mid-size joint. And so there's all this debt accumulation, but then how are you actually building wealth? Mm-hmm. And some of the numbers we're going to talk about later, we're going to attack why you're so worried about having the ideal counterpart from a social construct. What does that really look like? And then what are you giving up when you're denying all these others, trying to find this more perfect thing that's going to look good on Malachi Bride or IG or whatever.
Okay, I want to read 2 comments and I want to react to that. So I want to go back to Nicole. She said, the old school men solely took care of the household is unrealistic nowadays because you do need someone that makes close to what, she's bringing in. Herman said, the education or finances when it comes to relationships should not matter. If you truly love someone, maybe I'm naive, but it should be in good health. It should be in good health, I guess. And so Nicole said she agrees with Ebony. It was harsh, but true fact. Can a man handle a very successful woman? Herman said, not too sophisticated, huh? And then great points, Juan. So I want to go to when you said all women are desiring the white collar worker these days.
Yep.
I believe the reason why that is the desire and the standard for black women, even if these black women don't have degrees, even if they don't have 6-figure jobs, is because of social media. What social media did was it made luxury lifestyles the standard. So not everybody has to have a walk-in closet. Not everybody has to have luxury cars. Now, going to Miami is no longer it. I see the line nowadays, don't Miami and Atlanta me? Yep. Don't take me to no Atlanta and Miami. I'm trying to go international. Yep. I'm trying to go to Paris. I'm trying to go to Egypt.
Everybody wants to go to Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai, right? Yeah. And not only that, homes cost more money, right? So we can't look at this situation in the same manner that we did our parents' generation, because when our parents were getting married, number one, college wasn't that expensive. Okay, you can go to school for like $10K. Okay, buying a home was not that expensive. You can get a home for $30K. Nowadays, the average home, I would say across America, you're looking at least $250, and that's on the low end, right?
Yeah, because it's getting like that. I mean, shoot, Clarksville, a lot of them homes are going for $250,000, $300,000.
Right, and so what I'm feeling like, and not only that, is that more women, more men are going to do blue collar jobs because they're typically are more manual labor. It requires a lot more physicality. Yep. Versus a white collar job, more women are going to permeate those spaces. You can be a secretary, you can do IT, coding, whatever. And I think because black women in particular are having these high power jobs that do offer sophistication, and they're rubbing elbows next to other cultures, and they're seeing that those women are getting partnered up with white collar job men. I think in some way they feel frustrated that when they do see a black man in these white collar jobs, typically that black man is not looking for them. He's not checking for them. And I think that is a point of maybe resentment that black women have, because it's like, here we are in the same space making 6 figures. Why aren't you checking for me? Those black men typically are like, I'm trying to have my pick of the litter. And typically they're not marrying black. They're not.
Or some of them are, but then again, you got to think when we create, and this is a good point to bring up with Ebony K. Williams. For those that don't know, Ebony K. Williams was engaged to a white guy.
She was.
Right? And the thing is, she's rubbing shoulders with the kind of people because, once again, she has education. She has the social circle to be in those rooms. And then what happens is we have to start asking ourselves, right? When we work hard to put our kids in the best situations, they're going to the private schools. We know that wealth tends to exist more so in the Asian and white cultures in America, right? Then what happens is, so your kids are going to private school because you're affording them the best life possible. We're talking about a 2-parent black household, right? You're putting them in their best situation, but now they're around, these white kids, these Asian kids, right? And then, or if we think about the kids that maybe they do come from a single parent mom household and they have an athletic ability, i.e. LeBron or some of these other stars, they're the black kid that gets to go to said Catholic school because their ability. But once again, the females there are not black girls. They're white girls and everything else, right? And then their social circles and how they connect with people is a little varied than maybe some other kids that are growing up in a different environment. So then when they feel comfortable with a white woman, well, what do you expect when they've been around white girls all their life?
Fair.
If you didn't intentionally teach them in the home to value their blackness, to get them at least in a black church and other organizations so they can value what they look like in the mirror, what did you expect that child to do? You told them to take advantage of every opportunity in front of them, and as a result, these women, regardless of race, they understand wealth and notoriety, so they know, hey, this is the best basketball player at the school. I know Tyrone's black. Maybe my dad is not really into black guys, but my dad's gonna probably come around to realizing, hey, I'm dating the biggest high school recruit in the city or in the state, right, or in the nation, or I bring home Malik, who's the baddest basketball player at XYZ university or school. They're gonna come around, racist or not, because they're gonna be like, well, he's doing well. I mean, I guess if you got to get one of them, because that's how these are the comments that are said,
Get a millionaire, right?
Get at least get one of the good ones. That's what they say, one of the good ones. As if the plumber, the military guy, the police guy can't be a good one. Now, we find bad men in those professions too. I don't want to assume just because a guy has means, he's going to automatically be a jerk. Not all lawyers and doctors are cheaters, right? Just because a man got money, we're not going to demonize money in the black community. Nothing wrong with going to get that bag, right? We're not going to assume that they have automatically bad characters, because there's bad characters that can exist in the HVAC guy.
But I think,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think part of the problem too is that I keep hearing even the Kevin Samuels, well, why can't you black women, number one, the numbers aren't there. If you were to align every black woman to every black man, you're still going to have a large group of black women who just don't have a partner.
Yeah, there's just not
so
enough
there are black women that need to think about dating outside their race. But aside from that, when you tell black women you should consider dating the blue collar worker, for the ones that did date the blue collar worker, what happens is those blue collar men tend to feel frustrated by her making more money, rubbing shoulders with the president, whomever. Those relationships sometimes are very much imbalanced.
So let's talk about them making more money. Let's go to the numbers, because y'all know me. I pulled the numbers. So one thing that we've been hearing a lot of is that black women are the fastest growing demographic of like degree earners, business owners, and stuff like that. But then the sisters doesn't support that black women are necessarily owning the most or earning the most. So what's happening that we don't understand the numbers? Let's break down numbers. I'm going to give you a quick example. Let's say last year in PG County, these are all made up, but just work with me. Let's say last year in PG County, there were 10 black women that bought homes. This year, that number went up to 15, right? Or no, let's just say this year, that number went up to 100. So last year was 10, this year it went up to 100 buyers. Let's say last year there were 10,000 white people that bought homes, right? But this year it went up to 15,000. Follow me? So black women went from 10 to 1,000. White people in general went from 10,000 to 15,000. And let's say Asians went from 20,000 buyers to 30,000 buyers, right? Now, when you look at those numbers, it's like, oh, wow, obviously Asian people and white people bought more homes, clearly. But if you start looking at percentages and numbers, year over year growth, this is a number we use a lot in sales and in corporate America, year over year growth, the best growth is within black women. Now, they only had 990 more buyers, according to that example, 10 to 1,000, right? That's not significantly more buyers than the examples I use going from 20,000 to 30,000 or something like that. But year over year growth, that's over like, what, 900% growth? That's crazy. So that would look amazing. And I think what happens is because we're working from such a low starting point due to segregation, due to literally planned attacks on the black community. When you look at what the CIA did with drugs and stuff like that, we're working from such a deficit that it's easy for us to have great year-over-year growth in almost any endeavor that we attack. But sometimes we take a hold of that and we assume that we're further along the goalpost than what we really are. So then we're surprised to find out that actually it's still Asian Americans that tend to have higher graduation rates and faster completion times due to other racial groups. And then we find out that the highest earners amongst college students are those that have STEM degrees, science, technology, engineering, or math, right? They have higher starting salaries, or people with professional degrees, the lawyers, the business graduates, and those in medicine, right? So then when we're trying to figure out, well, why is it that when we look at household income, and this is by the latest census numbers, 2019, right? Highest earning households right now are still Asian households at 98,000. Highest earning next to them are white households at $76,000. Then Hispanic at $56,000, and then Black or African American, however you identify, at $45,000. So we get skewed by how people present numbers to pacify us typically. And we don't realize, well, what's the real impact on the bottom line that these numbers are really having? We're still broke. And if you're going into debt to the tune of 6 figures, and let's be honest, black women are out here earning 80 and 90,000 to that point like we think. Yes, in certain cities and demographics they are, but the U.S. is a big place, right? Plenty of degree holders out there working at a factory right now in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Or drive an Uber.
Or driving Uber on the side. There's plenty of them living here in the D.C. area. Well, there's a lot of job opportunities. Some people don't, like, a lot of them have to, go be teachers. Teachers we know are severely underpaid in America, right? And they're having a hard time getting into the consulting jobs, the STEM jobs, because a lot of women in general, these are general numbers according to the census, most women aren't getting degrees in STEM. They're getting degrees in humanities. And those jobs don't pay like STEM and professional degrees. So Ebony K. Williams, when she speaks, she's a JD holder. She's an exception.
She's an Esquire.
She's an exception to the general rule of what women are typically getting degrees in.
Yeah, and she's getting ready to have a job being a judge.
So her earning potential in general is different. So sometimes we put so much behind a degree, but then what does that really earn you when you go get the job? The truth of the matter is those hard labor jobs like oil rigging, when you start looking at mechanics, when you start looking at construction, those jobs pay really well, and you don't need a lot of formal education to get into it. So your starting point can actually be better when it comes to home ownership and things of that nature. And the truth is, if we're going to build the black community again, somehow we have to start finding a way to get married and to get past our crap. And there's some numbers I want to go over for that. But something I wanted to bring up, there was some more math. Black women are always talking about, we're higher degree, but the numbers, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics from 2020, right? Black men still out-earn black women. And we're looking at the median. And the reason why we're talking about the median and that the average, because the average is skewed by millionaires, right? If the median looks at the middle numbers, because when you're looking at a large social statistical data, and when that subset of numbers are like, in the thousands, the millions, right? It's better to look at the median. This is why a lot of times when you're watching C-SPAN, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, they bring up the median income, but that's going to show more so what the middle is really making. When you say the average, the problem is now you're adding up the total value and dividing it by the number of participants. But if those participants are Jeff Bezos, who has more money than almost all America put together, when those participants are people like Robert S. Smith, who's worth $8 billion now, I think, is the increase. When you compare him to other black men, and the average black man is typically making around $41,000 a year, he makes up for almost millions of black men, right? So that's why we can't go by average. I've heard a lot of people, and even Ebony K. Williams, she stated the average income of black women. But the problem is now you're adding in the values of Viola Davis, Mary J. Blige, Beyonce, Michelle Obama, and countless others, Oprah Winfrey, and that's skewing the numbers much higher than what they really are versus being true to it. The true number is this. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, black men earn about $769 per week, and black women earn $713 per week. So even though black women are killing us in education, definitely more sophisticated than us typically, right? And most women are, not just black women. Most women, compared to their social group, are always going to be typically more educated and more socially aware and sophisticated. That's just the nature of humans in America, period. And probably around the world a lot of times, unless you live in a society that's more Eastern or dogmatic, where they're still preventing women from educating themselves, right? So black men are still out earning women, but then I think where black men get frustrated, it's, well, listen, the raw numbers don't support all of this, what we're hearing on IG, this, the feelings of it all, but what's the core of it all? And so we have to find a way to say, okay, despite the education, despite the level of sophistication, how do we get people back together? And another point I want to bring out about Ebony K. Williams is this is a woman who currently said, forget a relationship. I'm just going to go and purposely be a single mother. She's actually going through like the in vitro process right now so she can just get pregnant on her own. She don't even want a man involved. And while I'm talking about that, let's bring up some other stats. Because y'all know me, I'm all about the stats, right? 7 things that you have statistically to having a father in the home are within these areas. 1, improved cognitive development. Studies have shown that children with involved fathers tend to have better cognitive development, including higher IQ scores and improved problem-solving skills. 2, enhanced academic performance. Children with engaged fathers are more likely to perform better academically, have higher grades, and are more likely to graduate from high school and attend college. 3, better emotional and social development. Having a father in the home is associated to better emotional regulation, social competence, and overall psychological well-being for the children. 4, lower rates of behavioral problems. Children with involved fathers are less likely to exhibit behavioral issues, delinquency, and substance abuse. 5, reduced likelihood of poverty. Families with 2 parents, including an involved father, are less likely to experience poverty, which can have long-term positive effects on a child's well-being. Number 6, improve gender role development. Having a father in a home can help children develop better understanding of gender roles and promote healthy relationships in the future. I know in today's society we don't want to hear about gender roles, but they truly exist. Most women ain't trying to go out there and take that darn trash out. I know you do, but most women ain't trying to do that. And guess what? If there's a loud knock at night, if there's a sense of danger, in most situations, they want that man to step up and be the protector. When women talk about, I want a protector, like we ain't just talking about protect the Amex card. We're also talking about the actual physical threat of danger and what a man represents. Or sometimes just reaching up into that top cabinet without the danger of falling down from your step stool. Because it ain't no man to reach up there. Sorry, short men, but still. You rather probably tell your husband to get on that ladder if he's a short man under 5'7" and reach up there versus you risking to hurt yourself. Just saying. Number 7, last one, greater resilience. Children with involved fathers are generally more resilient in the face of adversity and can better cope with stress and challenges. Don't at me. These are just the actual numbers.
Yeah, I think that part of what we're seeing in today's dating dating world and spectrum is that there was an overcorrection, right? Mm-hmm. I think that the previous generation told us, don't worry about no man, go out here and get educated. I always heard that growing up. It didn't matter who it was. It could be a mother at the church. It could be aunts, cousins. Everybody always told me and my friends. And when I talked to all of my friends in my age group, it was the same rhetoric. Focus on getting educated. Focus on earning power. Focus on your career. Don't worry about a man. And so what happened was a lot of us, I would say Generation X and millennials, we went out focused on degrees. We went all the way up PhD, JD, MD, multiple masters. I think everybody I know in my group, for the most part, got like a master's degree.
I think all the women you know and now around us, they all have at least a master's degree.
A master's degree or multiple.
And most of the brothers, we just done bachelor's degree or less.
No, that's not the truth. But the point I'm trying to make is that what happens is you don't focus on biologically when should you even be thinking about marriage and kids? Because now there are a lot of women, black, white, Asian, and others, who are now educated up, careered up, and now their biological clock is running out. And they're sitting there figuring out, like, what am I going to do for kids? Because I don't have a man, I don't have a husband, my eggs, you only have as many eggs as you have. When you're born with as many eggs as you're ever going to get. What am I going to do for kids? And they're not realizing, dang, maybe I should have frozen my eggs when I was 20. Or maybe I should have taken a pause in this career journey to think about getting married and having a kids. So we're in a crucial spot, Black America. We really do need to think about the benefits of not only your home life for your kids, but also for you as a Black woman when you partner with someone. When you want to have somebody there that you can cry on, depend on. You don't have to do it all. I heard so many Black women, I'm burnt out because I'm doing it all. Well, why are you doing it all? Why are you having kids out of wedlock and you're not married?
Because, let's be honest, single motherhood is a choice. Unless you're widowed, it's a choice. Because even for the ones that say, oh, I got a bad dude, he dogged out on me. For being honest, a lot of times the signs are there. Or maybe it's just not a compatible guy for you, but you saw the signs that he wasn't compatible for you. beforehand, and you still made the conscious choice. And I know a lot of us try to say, no, it's an emotional thing, you don't understand. No, you made a conscious choice to be a single mother.
Well, not all single women do, because there are some women who are married and that marriage was just not good, and so
that's what I'm saying. Sometimes the signs of it not going to be a good marriage was there.
They became a single mom, or maybe they married and the husband died. Point being, though, I do think that we need to take a step back as a community and figure out what do we need to do to heal to get partner up. I think therapy is number one.
Yeah.
I also think you cannot listen to your single parent mama. Your mama has dating experiences that are going to impart ideologies into you that may not be conducive to you living your best quality life. That's something I want you to consider. Can your mama really give you solid advice if she's never held a man long term?
You got to really think about that.
Can your mama, talking to young men, can your mama be the standard of what you're looking for in a woman when your mom, again, couldn't keep a man, or she wasn't talking to uplifting you when she was talking to you crazy as a young boy? Was your mama really, really emotional, thus you are mimicking emotional behavior, no sense of understanding how to process emotions, make logical decisions?
Yeah, because a lot of times, unfortunately, the stats prove that these single mothers are creating the F-boys they always complain about.
Well, I don't want to blame it all on single moms, because
I'm not blaming it at all. I'm just saying statistically it shows.
Absentee fathers play a role as well. But what I'm trying to say is that as Black people, we need to figure out how can we increase. The best chance for us to increase our wealth, generational wealth, is to partner together. If you're only making $50,000 and he's making $50,000,
that's a household income of $100,000.
$100,000. You see what I'm saying?
6-figure household automatically. Nicole made a good point. She said, let's be honest, us as women need to be okay to be feminine and decrease the masculinity.
A lot of us do run around with a lot of like boss, masculine energy. Also, I think that, traditionally in the Black community, we're a bit combative, right?
I mean, look at Ebony K. Williams in that conversation. She even called it out herself. Yeah, I know I'm coming with all the masculine energy. She said it. I'm not putting that on her. She said that herself.
I think we can be combative, and so when that happens, to Nicole's point, you can emasculate a man, right? How are you building that man up? So let's talk about it. Like, let's say you as a Black woman have a white collar job. You make more than your current boyfriend or guy you're with who's a blue collar worker. He's feeling emasculated, and you're like, well, I don't know. He needs to get it together. He needs to step it up. Why can't you work with him? Is there a situation where you're going to allow him time to go to school so that he can maybe transition and pivot into a white collar job?
Because our mothers did it.
Our mothers did do it. My mother did give my father the time frame to get a degree.
Shout out to Herman and Mike. Got the degrees later in life, but they got it nonetheless.
Yeah, and you're right. My mom wasn't like, oh, well, I'm bringing in the check, so he's worthless. She said, look, let's take this time frame out where you can focus on nothing but school, get your degree, then hopefully that can help with more earning potential. Are you willing to partner with that man, right? If that man is not bringing home what you are expecting, how are you planning to position him so that he feels, worthy? Are you speaking life into him? Because, I mean, a man feeling emasculated, some of it might be internal emotions, but some of it might be the energy you're giving him.
Yeah, I mean, and that does play a role, guys. I think, when you're in a healthy relationship as a man, you can do so much more when you have a supportive partner. And the submission is not about being a footstool or a doormat to a man, but when, like, that act of submission, for a lot of men, that operates in, like, the way we receive love, right? And it's so empowering. And normally what happens is it's going to be reciprocated in the way that women need it back to them when you support a partner. Sometimes we tough to deal with. At least I am at times. You know what I'm saying? I know, I get it. I got my little ways. But she still love me regardless. She's still here. She ain't going nowhere. And guess what? I ain't going nowhere either. I love my little chocolate drop. You get what I'm saying? But we do the work. We go to therapy, and it helps. I want to bring up some more numbers. Y'all know me. I'm all about these numbers. And I want to talk about marriage rates, and then I want to talk about the effects of wealth building, right? So, one, marriage rates in America. And when you think about the top earning racial demographics, it also aligns with marriage. Number one, Asians. 58% of adults are married, according to the 2019 census.
That's more than half.
More than half. Next in line, white. 48% married, of adults married. Hispanic, any race, right? 45% married. Black, who are at the bottom of the economic list, are also at the bottom of the married list. Only 29% of adults marry. Now, let's talk a little bit about wealth building. Keep in mind, when pulling this information, how much money somebody made had nothing to do with it. It was more so, but here's the impacts. Regardless of money made, here's the impacts that marriage has on wealth building. Number one, there's 7 of them. Savings. Married couples tend to accumulate more wealth and have higher combined household incomes, which contribute to increased savings and financial stability. Number 2, quality of life. Marriage is associated with higher levels of life satisfaction, happiness, and overall well-being. There's a lot of men out there, I'm going to call out the brothers on this one, they keep on talking about how life is so miserable with a woman, you better off by yourself. I hear some black women that say, I could do bad all by myself. No, you're going to do worse by yourself, according to quality of life. So black men, black women, no, you'll do better with someone, sir and ma'am, all right? Healthcare. Married individuals tend to have better access to health insurance, which can lead to better health outcomes and lower out-of-pocket medical expenses. Number 4, retirement. Shout out to our parents, right? Married couples generally have higher combined retirement savings and are more likely to receive social security and pension benefits, leading to more financial security in retirement. Because sometimes if the one don't get it, maybe the other one gets it, right? Shout out to all my military guys that do their 20 years. People that work in police department and other government services, they tend to get that pension. That helps, right? Number 5, home ownership. Married couples are more likely to own homes, which can provide long-term financial benefits, such as building equity and potential tax advantages. Number 6, life expectancy. Literally, your life depends on it. Married individuals tend to live longer than their unmarried counterparts, partly due to better health behaviors, social support, and access to health care. When you have someone, and hopefully this doesn't happen to any of you, but if you get diagnosed with high blood pressure, you get diagnosed with diabetes, when you have a wife or a supportive partner next to you saying, don't eat that cupcake, now you know good what the doctor said that you're on the threat of being diabetic. Don't eat it. I hear it from my wife all the time because the VA told me I was pre-diabetic. So, and part of my weight loss has been because I have a partner next to me. Both of us have struggled with weight or whatever at different integers of our relationship. And what helps is we be like, all right, we'll go to the gym together. Katrina will say, I'm trying to do this, so then I got to lose weight with her. I'm like, man, I don't want to eat vegetables. But she want to eat vegetables this week, so now I have to. But that positive peer pressure of being in this relationship, wanting healthy results, helps us. So it's true. And then last but not least, number 7, the effect of children's outcomes. Children raised in 2-parent married households tend to have better academic, social, and emotional outcomes, low rates of behavioral problems, and reduced risk of poverty. That goes back to most of the stats that I talked about with fathers.
And I can attest to this, given the fact that most of my peer group that Juan has now met, excuse me, a lot of us did come from 2-parent households, and I think we're relatively doing pretty well. I mean, we're not like, oh my God, millionaires or anything like that, but we're all, have decent jobs. We're making, decent moves to move the needle and trajectory of, wealth building,
And I've seen this in military communities. A lot of military communities, there's a lot of marriage. Unfortunately, divorce happens too, right? But in military communities, you do see a lot of married couples. And what happens is, even if the parents were middle class, enlisted, you'll see a lot of the kids go into the military, and because there's some foresight into the military, they get better promotion through the military, whether it's higher ranks in the NCO, or a lot of them becoming officers, because the parents are like, if you're going to go into the military, you're going to become an officer. Right? You're going to go through ROTC, or you're going to do OCS, green and gold, and you're going to become an officer. We see that happen a lot. Or we'll see that because the parents are getting some type of retirement or VA disability, for those that are lucky enough to get that, shout out to you guys, right? That helps them along. So then there's this safety net of wealth that gets almost passed down to the children. And then they start taking advantage of things like the GI Bill, passing out to the kids. So even in a situation where these are not oftentimes always 6-figure household incomes, but somehow because they're 2-parent households, right, with this background experience of the military, they're still advancing even their families. Yeah. I've seen so many military kids that I went to school with You look at them now and they are doing better than their parents, which is the goal of anybody. You want your kids to be better. It's not saying that you're looking down on the previous generation, but you're standing on the shoulders of the previous generation, and they have now uplifted you to new heights. And it's funny because we talked so much about money today, but you know what, guys? When you actually look up, and I've looked at, this is compiling from multiple studies, when you look up the key factors of lasting relationships, money is not mentioned that one time. I know we're going over, but bear with me on this. There's 10 of them.
They say the number one reason for divorce is finance.
They do, but then they say the key factors to a long-lasting relationship ends up being these 10 things. So check me out. Number 1, communication. Effective and open communication is crucial for resolving conflicts, expressing emotion, and fostering understanding between partners. 2, trust. A strong foundation of trust is essential for partners to feel secure and confident in their relationship. Trust can be built and maintained through honest reliability and consistent actions. 3, emotional support. Providing emotional support to one another during good and challenging times helps strengthen the bond between partners and creates a nurturing environment for the relationship to flourish. Number 4, shared value and goals. Couples with similar values and life goals are more likely to be aligned in their decision making and support each other's aspirations. 5, commitment. A long-lasting relationship requires both partners to be committed to maintaining a nurturing, being committed to maintaining and nurturing the relationship even during difficult times. That's what y'all say during the wedding vows, through sickness and through health, for richer or for poor, all that. But y'all all leave the second that poorer and sicker and all those things
or
come.
You don't feel it. It wasn't.
I ain't happy.
That's what it is. I wasn't happy.
I wasn't happy.
It wasn't. What's they say? Fulfilling my. What they say?
And that's fulfilling my all that bull crap, right? Number 6, flexibility and adaptability. Life changing and challenges are inevitable. Life changes and challenges are inevitable, right? And couples who can adapt to and grow together through these changes are more likely to have enduring relationships. Number 7, quality time together. Spending time together and participating in shared activities helps maintain a strong emotional connection and fosters intimacy. Number 8, intimacy and affection. Maintaining physical and emotional intimacy, as well as expressing affection, contributes to the relationship's satisfaction and emotional well-being. You gotta pass up the booty, okay? Do not withhold. Give him some, right? No, and the fellas, give her some, because these days you be hearing about dudes that don't want to do nothing. Number 9, mutual respect. Respecting each other's individuality, opinions, and boundaries is essential for maintaining a healthy and balanced relationship. And 10, last but not least, conflict resolution. The ability to constructively address and resolve conflicts can help prevent resentment from building up and strengthen the relationship. Money wasn't mentioned one time, but guess what? If you're communicating, if there's emotional support, if there's shared values and goals, especially quality time together, mutual respect, the conflict resolution, those all are going to be around those money conversations you eventually have. Hey, babe, we can't afford this. I think if we work together, communicating to say, here's our financial goals. This is how we can work together. You know, I'm a rock star with paperwork. I know you're a really good mechanic. Let's build a mechanic shop together. Let's get a bus company, because you know how to drive that bus, boo, or you know how to drive that truck. Together we can start a company. This is where all these different factors play a role in how couples work together. It's not about the money. It's not about how much you make.
It's about working together.
Because we know countless couples, great couples. I guess one we can shout out because they've been here on the show and they've expressed this before. Shout out to the haters, right? Anthony and Vicky Hater. They talked about, when they came on the show, they talked about how they went through bankruptcy. They talked about changing careers. They talked about losing jobs, home insecurity at different phases of their life. They're still together 20 plus years deep, right? Because they were able to work through that. Some people want a pretty picture throughout the whole marriage. And the thing is, you can't control the outward factors of life and what that may throw into your marriage or your relationship. So more so than money, because money can come and go. You could be the top doctor in the world. You have one malpractice lawsuit, and now that $330,000 cardiologist salary you're used to is gone. People don't think about that. Like, he may be a doctor right now or a lawyer right now, or they may make great money. But think about all the people that just got recently laid off at Google, Microsoft, Facebook. These were people with those STEM degrees. They were making $150,000, $250,000, sometimes $500,000 a year doing what they do, and they get laid off. So you got with somebody that had all their ducks in a row, but now what do you do when you lose a $400,000 income? And if you're not communicating about how you spent said income, what do you think that does? You're going to leave him because now, well, his money is gone. But that can happen to any person you hook up with next.
Yeah, or you could marry somebody and they're very beautiful and they get into a car accident and now their whole body is different. Are you going to leave them because, they look different or whatever? The point being is that work together. I think that's what our community needs to do is really take a step back. How do I work with this person? What do I like about this person? How do I value this person? Versus focusing on what you bring into the table, 50-50. Don't worry about that.
It's a household income. Guess what? When they look at household income, they're not saying, well, how much did the husband contribute? How much did the wife contribute? All they know is your household income is XYZ. And guess what? They're writing laws according to your household income. That's your individual contribution to said household. So when they're saying stuff like, oh, you guys together have good credit, so Biden has these cockamamie ideas that he wants to charge you an extra percentage point on your mortgage because you have good credit? Or they want to say, well, guess what? We want you to pay a little bit more into the system because you have a combined household income of $400,000. Shout out to anybody that has that blessing. But those are things to consider. They're not looking at what the husband gave $300 or the wife gave $300 and the other one gave $100,000. They said, no, both of y'all together brought in $400,000. We want to take an extra $20,000 out your pocket towards society because you're doing well. Society is looking at what the household put together. We got to think about that. And honestly, at the foundation of wealth building and how we advance our community, guys, I know you don't want to think about it, but we just talked about the facts of what it is. Marriage is a key. It's a major key. If I was DJ Khaled, that's what he would say. A major key.
I would say, bottom line, we need to have more substance. When you're looking at a partner, have more substance. There's too much focus on nowadays women of what a man can do and how much money he bring and how big his abs are, whatever. These men, is she cute? Is she got a big butt? That stuff is not going to sustain a marriage. He just read off the key factors. Do you have trust? Do you even like the person you're with?
Are you a respectable first person? Have you done the work to have proper conflict resolution? Have you done the work in yourself that you can devote quality time to your significant other? Are you going to be committed to it? Are you expressing with each other what are our shared goals and values so that way 10 months in, 10 days in sometimes, we don't realize we don't align. Like my wife said, let's stop having more substance when we communicate with each other.
And don't look at social media for guidance, please.
Oh, God, please don't do that. Please don't do it.
Let's not look at social media for guidance because there's too many of y'all really taking your advice through social media and you're doing things because you think it's cool. I mean, start thinking for yourself. And if you feel like, you know what, I really want to be the change maker in my family legacy, you can do it. It might mean you tell your mom, hey, Mom, I love you, but I feel like your advice is not going to help me get where I need to go.
Yeah. Start having real conversations, folks. This is how we get ahead. But look, we went over time, but this was a really good conversation, so I don't mind that we did that. And then I have my boo here with me, so you know. Yeah,
and I'm shout out to Ebony K. Williams. Again, I think one thing I want to say in closing is that what Juan mentioned before, I think it's okay for Ebony to say she would not date a bus driver, right? Because the reality is the spaces that she's in, she's not going to even rub elbows to a bus driver. It just doesn't seem likely.
No.
Don't take her position as the standard for you as a regular smegular person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not on the same level as Ebony K. Williams. And I think we got to humble ourselves.
She has a net worth of $3 million. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there, you have negative net worth. But then you're saying because of your master's degree, because of your associations, because of your peer groups, I'm too good for so-and-so. Oh, slow your roll. You may not be no Ebony K. Williams. All right? So, keep that in consideration when you guys become empowered by someone you feel a connection to, because that may not be your story. She is exceptional in a lot of different ways, but even she can't avoid certain social constructs that may impede her being a single mother, and she still continues to go down that path. Just wanted to say that.
Herman had a couple of comments. He was going through all of the different essential factors for a good relationship. He summarized it. He also was talking about more substance. Social media is a no. And then he said, good to see me on the show today. He's been missing us together. So thank you, Mr. Herman.
Yeah, it's always good when we together. And
this was a good conversation. I think we're going to continue to have various installments of it because it's important. I mean, it's so crazy how when you think about Kevin Samuels, Ebony K, was like, this relationship thing is deep. In the
I mean, you gotta think.
Deep.
And like Ebony brought up a point, and I wanted to, in a closing thought to this conversation, there are definitely more serious things going on. You have BRICS versus G7 right now. Mm-hmm. We had a actual attack on Vladimir Putin recently, at the Kremlin. That's like someone attacking the CIA building in Langley for you guys, just to kind of show some comparison. We have that going on. They found another spy balloon in the air. They're talking about releasing Fed now, which could literally start impacting your money. The government can maybe pull the money directly out your funds for traffic fines and things of that nature. There are definitely more important things going on in the world, but we love our relationship talk. We love Love is Blind. We love Married at First Sight.
I think because people are lonely.
People, you know what? And loneliness is a contributing factor to early graves. And actually, in somewhat way, they mentioned that in the stats that I pulled today, right? Married people are living longer than their single counterparts, right? I mean, I know a lot of us like, doing it on our own, and, you don't want to be with somebody because my own daddy won't even talk to me that way. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, you got to let somebody talk to you because, baby girl, you ain't going to be able to do it by yourself. You're gonna do worse. Listen, I know some people say I could do bad on myself. No, you're gonna do worse by yourself. The numbers don't lie. But let's do some quick shout outs before we roll out. No show next Sunday. And then y'all be like, dang, y'all can't do no consistent shows for a month.
No show for a while, actually.
No, just next Sunday. We can do it on the 21st. We'll be able to do it on the 21st. At least I'll do one. We're here, aren't we?
Mm-mm.
We're not? No, we're back from already. We get back on the 19th. From the big place.
So just go do your shot.
Listen, I think we're going to be able to do a show on the 21st, but if we don't, Katrina was right. Maybe I should have listened to my wife. But on the 21st, we should be able to do a show. But we're going to be out of touch for a little while, so yeah, there's that. Birthdays. I know we always do birthday shout outs here on the Nitty Gritty show. So let me shout out Fred Scott. Let me shout out Dale Brooks, Pastor Dale Brooks. Shout out to you for your birthday. Shout out to my man Frank B, Franklin Bradford, my people. Shout out to Darren Hurt. Shout out to Ariel Young. Once again, my people. Shout out to David Ross. My uncle David Ross. Shout out to my homie Rob Ballard. Shout out to Maya Hall. Shout out to Darisha Bates. Shout out to my people. Derek Arrington. When I say my people, I'm referring to people that went to Austin Peay State University. And then shout out to Thomas Birch. And then also shout out to my cousin Valerie Thompson. All of them have upcoming birthdays over the next 2 weeks. Wanted to shout you guys out. No wedding anniversaries. So maybe I missed it. Maybe I didn't see it. But from what I saw, all the current ones I had already shouted out. So if you did get married or something, or there was somebody you wanted to shout out, just hit us up in the Nitty Gritty Show. DM us. We will shout them out for you. We're all about supporting some black love. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Great show. Nice to have my honey bunch next to me. And we're about to pop off so we can go watch Succession, because that's what we've been doing now on Sunday afternoons. So anyways, peace, love, and a bottle of hair grease. My name is Jay DaCosta.
I'm Katniss. I have to think about it.
Yeah, right. And together we are the Nitty Gritty. Look, thank you guys for watching. We out of here. Peace.